It's called remove element. We're given an array, and we're given these values called val. You need to remove those values. So we would like to remove these values, and we need to return a new array that contains all of the elements without those values. So arrays are immutable, so you're not going to be able to change the line. We won't be able to just get an array like this, right? So we will have the extra spaces from removing them, but they're saying remove them. So that's how we're going to remove them. We're going to turn it into this format. So they said return back the count of numbers that are not equal to the value, and they gave the value, and they gave this is given, right? The array nums and the value. Okay, so they want to turn it into this. So count the number that's not equal and return this. Okay, and also return an array that has the first elements. First, they call this k. Return the first k elements will be those that are not equal, and whatever is remaining, they don't care. They said do it in place. So it needs to be, in terms of space, it'll be this, and then in terms of time, it'll most likely be this, because we're gonna have to iterate through it. Now this, it will be very similar to insertion sort, because insertion sort number 1 is in place. Number 2, they're telling us to, they say you have a key, right, and create essentially a new array within this that is growing. So this, we'll get 2 arrays. One in insertion sort, it's sorted and unsorted. So this one is growing and this one is getting smaller through the loop. So the structure is while loop, right? I equals to 0 while I is less than the length of the array, and then I plus plus, and then we have some if condition in here, which you're gonna paste the values in, and we have the pointer that's moving. So we're finding, this if condition is finding the values that's equal to the key, and then you're kind of inserting at the right places. So we're gonna be replacing values like this. So it's gonna be the same structure. So we have an array, and we're gonna be iterating through it, and we're gonna be looking for the values. We're gonna be looking for the values where it's not equal. That's what they said. So they said find the number of values that are not equal, and then put those ones at the beginning, right? And then they said we don't care about the remaining part. So that's what we're gonna do. So we can follow this structure and we can say I is equal to 0. We're gonna need another pointer though. So we can, copy this. In this one, we're gonna have we're gonna call it index equal to 0. That's just gonna tell us we wanna start from like index equal to 0. That's where our new array will start from, and we're gonna be increasing it. So you can say that's our invariant, that we'll always have 2 arrays. One is the output array and the other one is the remaining elements that we are looking through. So we're going to use the if condition, find the key, right? So, and they already told us it's the array. The value, not equal to value. Or if we find a key where we find an element that's not equal to value, not equal to key, then put that into this new array. So index equal to 0. If we find it, I want to say a of index is equal to that value, and then iterate that. So you move that pointer out. Afterwards, after this is over, we're gonna return literally the size of that array, of this type of array, which is count, which is the number of elements not equal to the value, which is precisely what this whole thing is counting the number that is not equal to value. So we can return the index. If we have v1 to v, it should return back 2 as the size of the new array. We want to get back like a new array, which these are fake, right? Like these are not real right here. It's just the invariance. So 1, 2, and then you'll just have spaces here, and you'll return back to that. This is I and index, right? You have 2 pointers. Then you'll say, while I doesn't reach this point at the end, you want to move it up. You want to check, first you want to check, is this equal to v? And if it is, then that means that it does not belong in this part. They don't want anything that's equal to v in this part. So in that case, you can see what do we do if it's not equal? We just do this, right? We just do this. Okay. The index stays there because we want to replace it. So we can move this up, right? And then we go again and we say, does this one equal to v? Or is it not equal to v? And that is true. So you want to replace, you want to put this value into that, our sorted array section. You can think of it like that. So let's replace this with this, and then we can move this pointer now, right? So obviously we don't want to keep rewriting the same area, so move that up. All right, move this one up so we can search for another one. And now we look at this one and say, is this one not equal to v? And that is true. Copy in this value 2 into where this is, right? Move it into the sorted section, and incrementally index, and you want to move the I up, right? And now you want to check where the I is this one not equal to v? And that's false, so you're not gonna move it into this section, right? You're not gonna move it into this section here, which is the reason that this index is not gonna increment, because we don't want it. This length of this section of the array did not increase. So you don't want to move up index. You want to now look for the other key, like in insertion. So it keeps looking through and says, okay, what is the key that I need? What is the correct key that should go next into it? And only if we found it, then we can increment index. So in this case, we didn't find it. So now I reaches the end here, and it exits. So now we come down this part. You'll return back essentially the length of this section, which will be given by this index value. So we have 0, 1, 2. Index is equal to 2 in terms of index, but even though it's pointing to the third element, and this one wasn't overwritten, it means we don't have two values, and the original array was v1 to v. So we only have 1 and 2, but in this case, the way we write it, it still works out. So you return 2, and that's the answer, and you also return back array, which is 1, 2, 2, v, and the program said we don't care about, we won't even look here, as long as this up to 1, 2, this is right, then this can be anything. And the whole thing, we'll take two variables, and then we'll say while it doesn't go outside of the bounds. Then you'll say if nums of I is not equal to value, meaning you want to count the number, count the number of keys that you find that are correct, that are not equal to value, then assign that to the, so count this, and then since we're going to use this also to count, so then that will be like, this one will be index plus plus, and we're going to assign it here, we're going to move it into the correct location, so it'll also be here, and like that, right, where nums is a, so a.length, and then after this is finished, you do I++ to find a new key, and after this while loop finishes, you return the index. Okay, and that's it.